Welcome back to Keep It Real Boxing. This is Cypherbox. Just read an article online by The Express, and apparently Dillian Whyte is a little bit upset with the WBC for mandating a fight between himself and Luis Ortiz as a final eliminator to see who becomes the second mandatory challenger to Deontay Wilder's WBC belt. Now, as you know, Dominic Breazeale is the first mandatory challenger to Deontay Wilder's WBC belt, and Dillian Whyte's a little bit upset, and this is what he had to say over Twitter. This sums up everything that's wrong with boxing. At WBC Boxing, you confirmed to me and the media that Breazeale versus Molina was not a final eliminator. Now you're saying it was, and mandating Wilder to fight Breazeale before me. Hashtag bullshit. Okay, so let's get into this. First of all, everyone needs to understand something. Mauricio Sulaiman recently, I played this sound clip in one of my previous videos, and Mauricio Sulaiman has turned around and said that Deontay Wilder has just recently had a mandatory defense of his WBC belt, and they won't be mandating another mandatory challenger for a long time. He is free to do what he wants right now in terms of a voluntary defense or a unification fight with Joshua. So even if they made Dillian Whyte, for example, the number one mandatory challenger to Deontay Wilder's WBC belt, he's probably not going to get that fight. That fight probably isn't going to be mandated and ordered until next year, or at earliest the end of this year, right at the end of this year. So what's Dillian Whyte going to do in that time? Stay, inactive? No. So you might as well take this fight. Now, Dillian Whyte was very critical of Ortiz and Deontay Wilder's victory over Ortiz, saying that, Ortiz is he's an old man, he's a fatty, he said, Ortiz is like 60 years old, you can't rate that victory, that Deontay, he downplayed Deontay Wilder's victory over Ortiz. Now, in my opinion, Ortiz is a top contender in the heavyweight division. We all know that. Can't be denied. All right. And he is a dangerous opponent. So, but if you really feel that Ortiz is over the hill, he's an old man, it's an easy fight, etc., blah, 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 all that stuff, take the fight. You're not going to get a shot at Deontay Wilder anyway till about probably next year, because the WBC aren't going to order that him to have another mandatory defense of his title. So you might as well keep yourself busy and finally step up against a world title contender on, like Luis Ortiz. I don't see what the problem is. Either that, or Dillian Whyte doesn't believe Luis Ortiz is an easy fight, and that he's an old man and anyone could beat him and blah 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 and all that stuff that he was talking when he was playing Deontay Wilder's victory over Luis Ortiz, and maybe Dillian Whyte actually says, Luis Ortiz is a dangerous fight, because remember, don't forget this, Eddie Hearn and Barry Hearn, when they met, when Barry Hearn met with Shelley Finkel, to talk Joshua Wilder, they turned around and said to Shelley Finkel, why are you taking such a dangerous fight in Luis Ortiz? You might as well fight Dillian Whyte. Let's not forget that. Right? So, clearly, Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing, and obviously Dillian Whyte, by the looks of things, in my opinion, feel that Luis Ortiz is potentially a dangerous fight and he don't want nothing to do with it. That's why he's crying about it. Look, I got nothing against Dillian Whyte. I like Dillian Whyte. But you know what? Step up to the plate. Yeah, let's look at Dillian Whyte's record. He really hasn't fought anyone in that you would consider a top contender for, in the heavyweight division. And don't say Lucas Browne, because Lucas Browne is not a top contender. Let's be honest. Yeah, that was a poor performance by Lucas Browne and an easy win for Dillian Whyte. Even though Dillian Whyte looked good and boxed well, he would look well against a guy who is out of shape and, who's inactive. He only fights like once a year. Let's be honest. Okay? So, step up to the plate. Step up to world level. Yeah? This is a top contender. You keep saying he's an easy fight. Step in the ring. Knock him out. Beat him. And strengthen your position within the heavyweight division. Simple as that. But I get the feeling that, You know what? Matchroom, Eddie Hearn and Dillian Whyte all believe Luis Ortiz is a dangerous fight, because they said that to Shelley Finkel when Deontay Wilder decided he was still going to fight Luis Ortiz, and they don't want nothing to do with it. That's my opinion on it. Yeah, stop your crying, stop your whining. Yeah, get in the ring, step up to plate and take the fight. You're willing to fight Alexander Povetkin. You know, you're willing to fight Kubrat Pulev. So why won't you fight Luis Ortiz? You know, and end of the day, yeah, you are the WBC #1 ranked, but you're not the mandatory challenger. That's with Dominic Brazil. So, end of the day, it is what it is. Personally, I want to see Dillian Whyte in the ring with Luis Ortiz. I like to see that fight. You know, Dillian Whyte says he's not scared of anyone. He'll fight anyone. Okay, step in the ring with Luis Ortiz. Let's see it happen. And if you do a better job, and this is the other point, imagine if Dillian Whyte gets in the ring and does a better job on Luis Ortiz than Deontay Wilder, how much more does that strengthen his position within the heavyweight division? So I don't see, for me, it's a win-win situation for Dillian Whyte, and he should take the fight. Simple as that. Anyway, that's just my opinion on it. As always, like, share and subscribe. Until next time, this is Scythebox reminding you to keep it real.